Mr. President, welcome.
Thank you.
It's great for us.
It's a pleasure to see you.
It's good to see you, and I hope the next time that I see you, I'll be in Kazakhstan. We are debating in a whole raft of ways the war, markets, and ramifications. But you have a very special level of knowledge to impart to this audience. You know Putin. What are we in the West underassuming or not recognizing in the lengths to which Putin will go to?
Well, it's a difficult story to talk about, particularly for the leader of Kazakhstan, which enjoys close relationship with Russia, as well as with Ukraine. So we are very much concerned about what is taking place in Ukraine, but at the same time, we believe that the negotiation process must be continued, and Kazakhstan, as a close friend of both states, would be able to provide our own opportunities, our own chances to bring together those conflicting states.
What will bring an end to this conflict and a form of peace, in your view?
I think that, first of all, the goodwill of both states, but at the same time, the support of the international community. Unfortunately, the international community has been split over, and the Security Council is a sad story. Never before the United Nations has been in such a bad situation. We remember at the time of the Cold War, many years ago. Even during the Cold War, the United Nations has been much more united than now. So I'm very much concerned about what will be happening with the United Nations in the future, but I'm a strong believer in multilateralism. I do believe that the international community must be much more getting together to show its solidarity and, of course, to put our influence, positive influence on both states so that we could bring them together to come to peace.
When was the last time you spoke to Zelensky? What was the last robust conversation you had with Zelensky?
You mean who?
President Zelensky in Ukraine.
I know President Zelensky very well. I had a meeting with him in the United Nations 2 or 3 years ago. I had a telephone call as soon as the whole situation in Ukraine.
And more recently?
More recently, no,
okay.
Frankly speaking. But I want to note that Kazakhstan provides humanitarian assistance to Ukraine, to the people of Ukraine.
In terms of the St. Petersburg forum that you've just been to, you openly, I suppose for want of better words, to quote you, you do not recognize the quasi-state of the territories of Luhansk and Donetsk. You talk about, I suppose, a bit of a pushback, an open pushback to Putin. Did he express any disappointment to you?
No. We had a very nice meeting immediately after the conference, after the forum. We have been talking about some concrete issues regarding bilateral cooperation between both Kazakhstan and Russia. He was very calm, self-conscious, self-confident, and but when expressing our assessment with regard to the territorial integrity of the states, of course, I was speaking about a major principle of the Charter of the United Nations. And from my point of view, the territorial integrity of the states must prevail.
Look, when leaders make statements, there are consequences. Do you have any concern of an economic consequence from Russia, from Putin, on Kazakhstan?
I just said that we have an excellent relationship in so many areas. As a matter of fact, both Kazakhstan and Russia are allies. We are staying together in such important organizations like the Eurasian Economic Union or the Organization for Collective Security. So, of course, we are concerned about the impacts of the whole situation, and we do feel some negative effects with regard to our economy. That's why we insist on having more active international cooperation so that we could find a way how to get out of the crisis. We have been talking, perhaps you remember, about the Chinese formula of the crisis. That means the dangerous situation, but at the same time, a lot of opportunities to get out from this dangerous situation. So we are thinking about how to get out from this dangerous situation. So our attitude, our assessment...
But is part of that solution, as you see a vision forward to peace, is that an annexation of the East? Is that something that needs to be talked more about and more resolutely to bring peace? Do you think that's the road to peace?
I'm not talking about the annexation. I'm just talking about the previous agreement, which has been almost reached in Istanbul, about Ukraine, which was going to become a demilitarized state, non-nuclear state, and I think that this kind of status of Ukraine was acceptable to Russia as well as to the whole international community. And by the way, when I was having a telephone conversation with President Putin, I said, okay, it would be a very good agreement that if Ukraine would become a non-nuclear state and would become a state which will not be joining any military organizations like NATO and so on.
Which is a whole other discussion, and time is obviously against us. You talked about trade and Kazakhstan suffering as a result of war. A large portion of your oil is exported via Russia.
Yes.
Are people still buying Kazakh oil? Is there any major reduction in the big trading houses who are here over these next couple of days buying oil from Kazakhstan?
Kazakh oil is still in demand on the international markets.
As robust
people
as it was
are still buying our oil, and we are very much grateful to the appropriate companies and states. But at the same time, of course, we need to think up how we could diversify our routes. And this is the issue we are thinking about. And we want to diversify our international trade routes. We are talking about the Trans-Caspian route. And just the other day, I was in Tehran, and we signed a very important agreement on how we could organize this kind of trade by train in our part of the world. So I think that, yes, the whole situation is not that simple. It's rather challenging, but at the same time, I see a lot of opportunities to make trade, to promote a diversified strategy, and I'm not that pessimistic. Rather, I'm optimistic about the future.
Well, that is about developing trade, and I suppose the world is going to seek new trade relationships, bilateral relationships, as we go into what everybody expects a much tougher time. Let's stay with the oil theme for just now. We've seen, you're obviously part of the OPEC Plus family. We've seen an increase in supply by OPEC Plus. Do you think we need to see a more significant supply response from OPEC Plus in the summertime?
I think so, and I believe that Kazakhstan has an observer status in OPEC, and we are committed to all the agreements. We are getting engaged in all negotiations and talks, and we have suffered, by the way, joining ourselves to the OPEC agreement.
You've suffered.
Yes, we had to reduce our oil production in Kazakhstan, but being committed to the international cooperation, being committed to the international organizations, we still want to have strong links with the OPEC. And of course, we will be a part of OPEC in Vienna.
Mm-hmm. And I hope to be in Vienna at Christmas time as well in December. Biden and the administration are exerting, by all intents and purposes, significant, I suppose, pressure for the Saudis to do more. Is Biden's politics working? Do you hear that people within OPEC are open to doing more, supplying more? Is the Biden approach working?
No, it's very difficult for me to answer your question. I'm president of Kazakhstan, and I want to have a friendly and predictable relationship with the United States. Okay.
Okay. It would be shameful of me as a journalist not to try another question. We understand that Joe Biden will, we hope, travel to Saudi Arabia. From a global geopolitical point of view, how important is that moment for OPEC, for OPEC Plus, and for the world in terms of oil politics, that they meet and a rapprochement of some description begins?
Just in general, generally I would say that the proposed visit of President Biden to Saudi Arabia will be, of course, an event of great importance. And it will have a...
Is it pivotal?
Pivotal, yes. I think that it will have a decisive impact on the oil market, and of course we'll be closely following the process of negotiations that is going to take place in Saudi Arabia. I think that it's a major event, his visit to Saudi Arabia, as far as the oil market, the whole international market is concerned. And we'll be following, and once again, it's very important.
How much spare capacity have you got? It's a slightly, you said you suffered. Everybody had to suffer. But what extra capacity have you got, and what ambitions have you got in terms of growth for oil?
Okay. We have been producing 92 tons of oil each year. So we had to reduce it by 4 million tons. But our capacity is about 100 million tons of oil. So once again...
Can we get there quickly, Mr. President?
Yes, we can do it quite quickly.
Time is a terrible thief. I've got a minute, so we'll go for the current state of play is a rolling weaponization of gas by Putin on the EU. So it depends which country you are and any which week how much gas you're going to get. Do you, and should the world consider a moment where Putin would switch off the gas completely to Europe?
I think that from my perspective, Putin has no such plan. If you remember, in St. Petersburg, he confirmed once again that his strategy will be to continue gas from Russia to any buyers in Europe. Once again, speaking on behalf of Kazakhstan, I would say that as far as Russia is concerned, we have no problems. Speaking about Europe, okay, we do recognize, we acknowledge that they have problems. But once again, without jeopardizing the whole situation, we need to find ways how to address this issue.
May I just close with one statement from you? Is Vladimir Putin a staunch and robust ally for Kazakhstan as of your last meeting?
Yes, he's a staunch ally of Kazakhstan. And as president of Kazakhstan, of my country, I'm very much pleased having close relationship with Putin. We need to do so.
Mr. President, welcome to Doha. Great to have you with us. I enjoyed the conversation. I look forward to seeing you in Kazakhstan.
Very much.